You're sitting across from her at dinner. The conversation is easy, nothing forced. She leans in when you talk, laughs at something that wasn't even meant to be funny. Later, she texts first, suggests meeting again. And you didn't chase, didn't perform, didn't try to impress her. You just showed up as yourself, calm, present, and somehow that was more than enough. Most men don't understand this. They think attraction is about what you do, what you say, how hard you try. But by the time you reach 50, you've learned something most guys never figure out. Attraction isn't created through effort. It's created through absence of effort, through the kind of presence that only comes when you stop needing to prove anything. This is mature instincts, where we explore the hidden signals most people miss. If you value awareness over games and experience over hype, subscribe now. Because what we're about to talk about isn't taught, it's earned. So here's the question. How do men over 50 naturally create emotional attraction without chasing women? And why does it work better than anything younger men try? Let's start with something simple. When you stop chasing, you stop broadcasting need, and women notice that immediately. It's not conscious, it's instinctive. She picks up on it the same way you can tell when someone wants something from you before they even ask. There's a shift in energy, attention, and mature men no longer carry that tension. You've been through enough relationships to know that desperation repels. You've seen what happens when a man centers his entire emotional state around whether a woman responds to his text. You've probably been that man at some point, and you learned. So now, when you meet someone, you're interested, sure, but you're not invested in an outcome. You're not sitting by your phone. You're not replaying the conversation in your head, wondering if you said the right thing. You're living your life. And that detachment, that calm indifference to whether she likes you or not, is one of the most attractive qualities a man can have. Women call it confidence. But it's not confidence in the way most people think. It's not about being loud or dominant or always having the right answer. It's quieter than that. It's the confidence that comes from knowing you'll be fine either way, that you don't need her validation to feel good about yourself. And she can feel that. It makes her curious. It makes her want to understand you, because most men she meets are trying to win her over. And you're not. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Emotional attraction isn't built through what you say. It's built through how you make her feel when she's around you. And mature men create a specific feeling without even trying. Safety, not physical safety, emotional safety. The sense that she can relax, that she doesn't have to perform or manage your emotions or worry about saying the wrong thing. She can just be herself. And that's rare. Younger men often bring chaos into interactions. They're reactive, insecure. One moment they're confident, the next they're withdrawn because she didn't laugh at a joke. Women spend so much energy managing that volatility, but when she's with a man over 50 who's comfortable in his own skin, she doesn't have to manage anything. You're steady. You don't need constant reassurance. You don't get thrown off by silence or disagreement. And that steadiness is magnetic. Think about the last time you were with a woman and the conversation just flowed. No awkward pauses, no pressure. You weren't thinking about what to say next. You were actually listening, actually present. That presence is something most men fake. They nod along while planning their next line. But you've done enough of that to know it doesn't work. So now you just listen. And when you respond, it's genuine. She feels heard. She feels seen. And that creates a connection no technique or strategy ever could. Here's another thing most men miss. Attraction grows in space, not in constant contact, not in daily texts or always being available. It grows when she has time to think about you, to wonder what you're doing, to replay a moment in her mind. But you can't create that space if you're always there, always reaching out, always checking in. Mature men understand this naturally because they have their own lives, their own interests, their own routines that don't revolve around a woman's attention. When you have a full life, you're not sitting around waiting for her to text back. You're not obsessing over whether she's interested. You're busy. You're engaged with things that matter to you. And paradoxically, that makes her more interested in you. Because she's not the center of your world, she's part of it. And there's a huge difference between those two things. Women also notice how you handle tension, disagreements, moments when things don't go smoothly. Younger men often panic. They try to fix it immediately, over-explain, apologize for things that don't need apologies. But you've learned that not everything needs to be resolved in the moment, that sometimes the best response is no response, just letting it sit, staying calm, not reacting. And that composure signals emotional maturity in a way words never could. She tests this, by the way, not maliciously, but women instinctively want to know if you're solid, if you'll lose your cool when challenged, if you'll become defensive or needy or controlling. And men over 50 tend to pass these tests without even realizing they're being tested, because you're not trying to pass. You're just being yourself. And yourself is someone who doesn't need to win every argument or always be right. You can let things go. You can disagree without it being a crisis. And that ease, that lack of drama is deeply attractive. There's also something about the way mature men take up space, not aggressively, not loudly, but with a kind of quiet authority. You walk into a room and you don't need to announce yourself. You don't need to be the center of attention. You're just comfortable. And people feel that, women especially, because it's so different from the try-hard energy most men bring. You're not performing. You're not auditioning for her approval. You're just there. And that groundedness creates a pull she can't quite explain. Now let's talk about mystery, not the calculated kind, not playing games or being intentionally vague, but the natural mystery that comes from not oversharing, from not explaining yourself constantly, from not needing to fill every silence with words. Younger men often feel the need to lay everything out, to prove their worth, to explain why they're a good catch. But mature men don't do that. You let her discover things about you over time. You don't rush to impress her with your resume or accomplishments. You let the conversation unfold naturally. And that restraint, that patience, makes her want to know more. She starts asking questions, leaning in, trying to figure you out. And every time she does, she's investing more emotional energy into the interaction. That investment builds attraction because people value what they work for, what they have to earn, and you're not handing yourself to her on a platter. You're letting her come to you, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're genuinely selective about who you let into your life. Here's something else. Emotional attraction is tied to how you make her feel about herself, not how you feel about her. This is subtle but critical. When a man is constantly complimenting a woman, telling her she's beautiful, amazing, special, it can actually backfire because it feels like he's trying too hard, like he's already decided she's the one before he even knows her. But when you're more measured, when you notice things about her that go beyond the surface, when you appreciate her sense of humor, or the way she thinks, or how she handles a difficult situation, that lands differently. It shows you're paying attention to who she is, not just what she looks like. And mature men do this naturally. You've dated enough to know that looks fade. That attraction based only on appearance is shallow and short-lived. So you're looking for substance, for intelligence, for character. And when she realizes you're evaluating her on that level, it raises the stakes. It makes her want to show you more of who she really is. And in doing that, she becomes more attracted to you. There's also power in not needing to fill every moment with plans. Younger men often panic if there's not a clear next step. They immediately ask when they can see her again. Set up the next date before the current one is even over. But you don't do that. You let the moment be what it is. You trust that if it was good, she'll want to see you again. And if she doesn't, you're okay with that too. That trust in yourself, in the natural flow of things, is something women find incredibly attractive. Because it shows you're not desperate. You're not rushing. You're just seeing where it goes. Women also respond to men who have boundaries, who know what they will and won't tolerate, who don't bend themselves into shapes to please someone else. And by 50, you've figured out what matters to you. You're not going to pretend to like something you don't. You're not going to agree with everything she says just to keep the peace. You have opinions, standards, a sense of self that doesn't shift based on who you're with. And that integrity, that unwillingness to compromise who you are, creates respect. And respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. Here's the part most men never understand. Emotional attraction isn't logical. A woman can meet a man who checks every box on paper and feel nothing. Then meet someone who doesn't fit her usual type at all and feel completely drawn to him. Why? Because attraction happens at the subconscious level. It's about energy, presence, the way a man carries himself, the way he makes her feel without trying. And men over 50 have this dialed in not because they studied it, but because they lived it. You've made mistakes, been through heartbreak, learned hard lessons about who you are and what you want. And all of that experience shows up in how you move through the world. You're not performing masculinity, you're embodying it, and she picks up on that immediately. So let's bring this together. How do men over 50 naturally create emotional attraction without chasing women? By not needing to. By being comfortable in your own skin, by having a life that's full and meaningful with or without her, by listening more than you talk, by staying calm when things get tense, by giving her space to think about you instead of crowding her attention, by being selective, by having boundaries, by letting her discover you instead of trying to convince her of your value. None of this is a technique. It's not something you can fake. It's the result of decades of experience, of knowing who you are, of being secure enough to let things unfold naturally. And that's why it works, because it's real. And women can tell the difference. You're not chasing because you don't need to. You're not performing because you have nothing to prove. You're just showing up as yourself, calm, present, grounded. And for women who are done with games and drama, and men who need constant validation, that's everything. This is what maturity looks like. This is what experience gives you. The ability to create attraction without effort, without pressure, without need, just by being the kind of man who's been through enough to know what actually matters. If this resonated with you, I want to hear about it. What have you noticed in your own life? When did you realize that not chasing worked better than chasing ever did? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. And if you want more insights like this, hidden signals most people miss, the psychology behind attraction, presence, and behavior that only experience can teach, hit that like button, subscribe to Mature Instincts, and turn on notifications. Because this is just the beginning. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.